Right. Thank you. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Global Intelligence Update. We've been entertained this morning by Angie and her creative skills. I want you to use those thoughts and ideas in the next hour. So keep some questions as we go through, please, and ask if there's anything that's unclear. But I am going to make it very interactive, as you always know. I'm going to start giving you a couple of challenges through the next hour. So first of all, I want to see hands up who has their bank account full at the moment. One person would be nice to have a hands up. Kind of, Andrea, maybe. Okay. So what are you doing right now that you think you shouldn't be doing? One word in the chat. Is there something that you're doing at the moment that you probably know you shouldn't be doing with inside your business? Yes, no? Yeah, yeah. Come on, everybody's clearly doing something that they shouldn't be doing, as your bank accounts would be full. Yeah. Isn't it interesting how it starts coming through? As we start thinking, more and more are going to be coming through. Yes, of course. So let's have a look a little bit today at what we could be doing and what we should be doing. So, what if your next breakthrough is only 10%? And I don't know, for those of you that were around in 2020 or 2021, Mike did a really awesome presentation to us all where he gave certain challenges and they were 10% challenges. So I've taken some of those and refined it a little bit. And I want you to look at what a lot of my businesses that I'm working with, what they're struggling with, and why. So, what if the next breakthrough isn't about chasing and that next thing to work harder? What if it's already what you're doing, but maybe a little bit of a 10% less or 10% more clarity? So, most people believe that growth requires dramatic change, major new strategies, more hours, more pressure. But after years of working with business owners, it's fascinating that most businesses can't scale because they're not sustainable enough. It's because they're not thinking about the rhythms that they've created already or the rhythms that's already making them money. So, what we tend to do is we tend to go look for that next bright, shiny object, rather, that next thing, rather than looking at what we're doing and what the engine is that's working. So when we look at business and we look at business owners, they are right now talking about how busy they are. But are they busy doing business or are they busy making money? Or are they busy just being busy to fill up their day? So if I asked you right now, what should you be doing 10% more of? What would you say? Lead gen, partnering, sales calls, selling? Interesting. So why are we not doing it? What's one reason that stops us from doing that 10% more? What's your bottleneck right now, do you think? Fear, procrastination? Isn't it always the same things, always, when we start looking at it? So let's analyze it a little bit more today. I want you to realize that really creating the reality of high performance doesn't mean to say you must do more. The reality of high performance is looking at a slight adjustment, a 10% adjustment, because otherwise we sit in that trap of overwhelm. And when we start a business, don't we often look at our businesses and want to build something simple, something for our lifestyle, something where we create independence in our business? Don't we want freedom when we create our own business rather than working for somebody else? And what happens is we just get stuck inside our business all the time. And we think we need to have another strategy. We need to have more information. We need to have more technology. But if you think about what's happening in the world at the moment, we have more than enough information. You can find any kind of information that you're looking for right now. In fact, we are an overload, an overwhelm of information. There's too many people giving out information. So who do you trust is the question, really. There's too many meetings that we are having at the moment. Our diaries are full. There's too much technology and AI. There's too many notifications from emails to WhatsApp to SMSs to all the different platforms that you're using. And there's too many expectations that are being thrown upon business owners right now. So if I asked you to go back to the beginning of your business and take away this complexity that you've created, what would you have left? What is that one thing that stands out in your business above everybody else? What is that one simple thing that you have left inside your business? Let's see. Network, one course, time, personal relationships. What is one thing that's left inside your business if you take away all the complexities? Connections. So if we really think about this question, why do we have so many complexities? One course, me? Yep. Isn't that fascinating, hey? So if we're going to take away this whole moment of complexities and simplify things, what do we need to do? When I started working with one of my clients in New Zealand, the very first thing that we did was we started to look at his clients because he was overwhelmed, too much admin, working too many long hours. And once we looked at his business, we realized that his offer was premium. Within 6 months, we were able to 10x his business simply from taking it back to the beginning, working out that his product offering was premium, therefore his pricing was should be different, and his clients were ultimately different. So if you go back to the core of what you're doing and what you want to offer, what your values are, and you will see it in Circle of Excellence and all the programs that Mike and Lundy offer, it's always back to the fundamentals to start with before you can add to it. So values, vision, mission, your one pager. So eventually, the problem's not about capacity at the end of the day, but the problem is about clarity. So if you take your diary and go and look at what are the outcomes of all those millions of meetings, what are the ROIs of your time, because every hour costs you money, it starts making it simpler for you to start saying no, which is a word that we don't often hear. So if we look at being pressurized and having precision, which side of the coin are you on right now? Do you have this huge pressure of hustle at the moment? Do you have this need for reinvention, this need to reinvent new ideas, new moments, where you're firefighting problems all the time, where you're just doing more and more, and you're so busy and you're exhausted? Or are you refining what you've already done, what has already worked, looking at your patterns, looking at your strategies, creating infographics, creating stages and steps behind what you do and how you do it, and showing where your impact really lies by doing the right things? Do you have that clear and sustainable direction that your business is going in? Because if we keep having this idea of 2 times effort is going to create 2 times results, then we are on the wrong road. because it doesn't. Doubling your effort doesn't mean to say that you're going to be doubling your results or your turnover. Small adjustments help. So if we looked at things like your health, if you wanted to go down the road in the next 6 months to create a better, healthy environment, it would be small things that you change. Because if you lost 10% weight, or if you created 10% more health, your health overall improves. Whether you have 10% better communication in your relationships, it creates a stronger trust environment. If you have 10% better systems, your efficiency starts changing. And if you have 10% more direction in leadership, your teams start changing. So these small changes continuously makes your business more sustainable. So what one small change, what one tiny change can you do today to kickstart the 1st of July? Let's see. What one small change, minute change, can you do between today and tomorrow? Thanks, James. 10% loss in weight is 50% improvement in overall wealth. Isn't that awesome stat? What one thing can we do today? More exercise if you're going down the health route, of course. More sleep, Andrea. Look at you now. Nice. Starting with me first, one change, focus on what really worked and forget everything else. Absolutely. Isn't it amazing how we go back to what we started and what we wanted to create in the beginning? So I really want you to take the time to think about this now, to really think about what is that one thing that you can do between today and tomorrow to kickstart your last half year. And once you know that, it then makes making these adjustments really easy because it's consistency that starts happening behind it. So if you look at any problem from 3 dimensions of what is the focus, how are you thinking about it, and what is your leadership or impact that you're creating, your environment then starts changing. So I want you to take this idea of 10% change and have a look at these 10 areas of impact that you are responsible for within inside your business. Which one of these areas do you believe that you need to have adjustments done? Even if it's a 10% adjustment, which one of these areas do you think that you need to add 10% to? And which one of these areas do you think that you need to take away 10% from? Price, focus, team, systems, leadership, marketing, cash flow, health, relationships, or clients. So where are you going to add 10% and where are you going to take away 10%? Because I don't want you to become even busier. I want you to become less busy, but more focused. So look at it and think about your business right now. And what do you want to achieve in the next 6 months? So where are you adding and where are you taking away? Which one do you think is your biggest bottleneck right now? So let's do a little bit of maths, because sometimes we are not convinced that there's a compound interest that happens. If you have 100 clients right now, and they're your perfect clients, and I'm going to talk about rands, if they each, if they are 10,000 rand revenue per client, and ultimately you making on the bottom line profit 300,000 rand. What happens when we add only 10% to our clients? We don't have a 10% interest increase on our bottom line. We have a 33% increase on our bottom line. So if you start thinking that you need more clients, but you need huge amount more clients, the answer generally is no, because you don't have the time and you probably don't have the systems in place. But can you imagine if you've just got a little bit more, just a 10% more clients in your month of July? Your bank account would be 33% more. So if we start focusing on those areas that are not stealing your future, because every time we say yes to something, we're moving away normally from our business. We are being distracted by those urgent issues that everybody thinks that are urgent, by other people's priorities and by constant interruptions. We are not gaining the 10% increase. So it would be interesting to see in the month of July, could you add another 10% to your clients? Because that allows you ultimately to work out where you want to have a 90% growth, which is where we're moving to. So we often hear about the 80-20 rule or the 90-10 rule. So where are you spending 10% on your efforts to get 90% of your results, or 20% of your efforts to get 80% of your results? So when we think about how we're going to move the dial a little bit in our bank accounts, we need to start thinking about what we currently are doing. So if you start your thought process, are you sitting on the reactive or the strategic side of your thoughts? Are you solving today's problems, or are you building for tomorrow's opportunities? When was the last time you took an hour to yourself? With nothing, no interruptions. And all my clients know I give them this challenge of once a week to take 1 hour. 1 hour where you've got no cell phones, you've got no laptop, you've got no TV, you've got no distraction, where you're literally sitting, looking at the waves, climbing the mountains, hugging a tree, lying on the grass, watching the clouds. When have you taken that hour to do nothing? Because what happens if we don't know where we're going to. We don't have clarity. That hour will give you more clarity than your full days of work. So it allows your thought process to start shifting, because you'll start asking better questions. You'll start looking at your patterns and you'll start defending your space. So let's look practically. Are you reactive? Are you fixing today's problems? Are you building tomorrow? Are you creating space to think? Are you recognizing patterns or firefighting? Are you exhausted, or do you have sustainable growth? Here's another practical example from a numbers perspective. If we're looking at just increasing our price by 10%, don't increase your clients, but only your price, your bottom line starts increasing by 33%. So sometimes it's just about a pricing issue. What is your true value that you offer? And most of us don't know that. So we underprice, we try and undercut competitors rather than showcasing what our true values are. So now if we put the two together, we increase our clients by 10% and we increase our price by 10%, we have a 70% increase on our bottom line. Now, who doesn't want that? How difficult is it for you in the next month to increase your price by understanding your value, by increasing your clients, by actually targeting the clients that you currently work with, to get a 70% increase on your bottom line? When we look at it from a leadership perspective, I want you to think about these three words, which have become my new favorite words. So you're going to hear it often from me: your presence, your power, and your poise. Are you fully engaged? So I can see online, with whoever cameras are open, who's fully engaged, who's actually listening to what I'm saying. I can see and on emails that come through who's fully engaged. And I often used to say during COVID that I could tell when you write an email to me, I can tell you whether you're in your pajamas or not. And it's the same thing now. We've gone back into the stage of putting on sloppy clothes when we work from home. And you can immediately pick up that that person's not fully engaged in their work. Go and read their emails. It's very interesting. Then, if you are fully engaged, think about the influence that you now have through your service or product offering. So, which community do you want to influence? And how are you influencing them? Are you positively influencing your community? Because right now in the world, we know that we have many obstacles that we're trying to get over. And there's too many people putting out information that's either false or negative. So, are you right now influencing your community positively, showing them the example that you are setting, showing them that you are an authority of your area? And poise is always about how calm and confident are you under pressure? Because we all are under pressure. Don't believe that anybody in this room is not under pressure right now in some form or another. So, I want you to be really clear on how you're shifting your leadership skills and your influence right now. Think about it, because I think that this is something that we don't often take time to think about. Who do we really want to influence and why? And how can we influence for the better? The other area is energy. So we tend to not realize the energy that we bring into the room. For those of you that were online before we started at 9 o'clock, the energy was super high. Angie was showing us her fantastic creative projects that she had. That's energy, people. What is draining you to go from that high energy to this low energy that we're finding right now in business? Is it that you're making too many decisions and you don't have a proper thought process or strategy in place for that? Is it the relationships that you've built from your suppliers, your clients, your stakeholders, your support structure, your ecosystem? Are they just sapping your energy and not building you up? Is it your creativity that you're not doing? Is it your leadership? So, what's draining you that no longer works for you? Because this is also part of your 10% shift that you need to do. We need to get into a space where we're not hustling all the time, but where we are putting in better boundaries, where we are creating better rhythm, where we're having better rest. So, out of those three things, which one of those do you need to do 10% more of? Better boundaries, better rhythms in your business, or better rest? Andrea already said sleep, so I guess hers is better rest. So where's yours? Where's yours? Do you have boundaries? Does your clients know when they can contact you and when not? Do you answer emails at midnight every night? Where's your boundaries? Where are you setting yourself? Where are you educating your clients right now? And when that shift happens, the adjustment starts happening inside your business. So, are you busy but ineffective? Are you successful but exhausted? Are you growing but directionless? Directionless. Because burnout doesn't come out from one thing. Burnout comes from thousands of small misalignments. So, where are you right now misaligned with inside your business and inside your life? So, if we look at this clarity protocol that we've got, how can you make better decisions? Do you know where you're going in your business? Can you change it 10%? Can you have 10% more energy focused on the positive? And can you have 10% better results coming out? And these are the four areas I want you to think about now, because I'm going to ask you three questions. Focus, where's your thinking? So focus is what you choose to ignore. Thinking is, are you strategic versus reactive? Or as Mike and Landy talk about, proactive versus reactive. Leadership, how do you show up? And energy, how do you protect your energy right now? Thinking about those four areas, I want to know from you, and I want you to put it into the chat. I want three things that you must stop. because that creates 10% space for three things that you must start, that which will allow you to have a shift of attention where you can put 10% on. So right now, I want you to think about three things that you need to stop, plus three things that you need to start to allow your shift of 10%. Let's have a look. And I want little things. I don't want very big things. I want little things. Three little things that you can stop. Three things that you can stop, plus three things that you can start. So if you stop three things, it's going to give you time to do something else, which is has more clarity for you as you move forward. Because I want that 10% shift to start happening inside your business that ultimately creates that 33% change on bottom line. Is it a hard question when I ask you to stop something? Yeah. When you thought today was going to be easy. So think about, what are you doing every single day? What is taking up 80% or 90% of your time right now? Look at your diary. What are those meetings that you are holding? Are they turning into a return on investment? Andrea.
Diane, so when you say the 80, 90%, are you talking about the 80, 90% that you don't want to do?
I
Or
Well, what you currently are doing, and within that 90%, what can you stop doing?
what if the 80, 90% you actually enjoy doing?
But is it actually turning into um, profit? Is it creating bottom lines for you? Or can you reduce it slightly by 10% to allow you a little bit more flexibility to create time for thinking or for time for strategic meetings or whatever you're not doing right now?
Because, yeah, no, the 80% that we do is actually converting to revenue and bottom line profit. Um, and it's stuff that we actually really enjoy doing. I mean, I guess that's
Fantastic.
the other thing too is
Of course.
how do we, what's the balance in that if it's the stuff that we actually really love doing? I mean, the thing I
100%.
really don't like doing is I really don't like talking to clients. So I've stopped.
Fantastic.
I've
Yeah.
stopped talking to clients and
And I think that that's
because
important.
I don't have space for it. But that's what I mean by the 80, 90% is
Yeah.
what if it's the stuff we're already doing that we love?
So if I would challenge you to look at that 80, 90% and think to yourself, what is one thing in there that can be converted to a process, or can be, you can add a little bit of tech to it, or that you can pass on to one of your staff members to do rather. What is that small little tweak that you can do to give yourself back some time and to allow them, your staff members, say, to improve their communication skills or their way of thinking or their next layer to their development? Because sometimes what we do is we hang on because we really enjoy it, but sometimes we also need to step up above that. We can still do what we love because that's the whole point of having the business. But can we not then pass more on? Can we not delegate more on down the road where you are still part of it, but not fully involved in it? It depends on how you see the clarity forming in the next half year. So let's have a look and see. Fred, stop eating chocolate. That's why. That's really interesting. Watching reels, even though They are content related, yes, but we spiral. So if we are watching reels or going on social media or doing Canva is my other one, have a time limit because these are where we get sucked in often. Playing some game. Stop chasing shiny objects always, Ian. Isn't that a thing for entrepreneurs that we all chase that next bright shiny object? And you can, but just limit it. Do 10% less of it. Family distractions always and diversification. So, what made you, Ian, so fabulous in your space? If you go back and think about how you got to where you are, with the success that you are at, what is something that you can do 10% more of in just in that little area that created those amazing results? And that will kickstart that 33 or 70% gain that you will get. Nice. Start focusing single-mindedness, product simplification, and channel partners. And we underestimate partners. The right partner can 10x your business. So can you imagine if you had 10 partners, how big your business could grow if you wanted to get there? Remember, it's all about what you want to build. Angie, stop procrastinating. Oh, waiting for the right moment, less crochet. Start 1 hour of business launch planning, 1 hour book writing, meditation for clarity. 100%. If you time block some things, you start limiting how you spiral out of control because that's what we do. As humans, we love to get sucked into something. So watch that. Janine, stop mundane work, start delegating. 100%, Janine. Um, Andrea, stop talking to low-level clients. Yep, start booking more holidays. Absolutely. South Africa's calling, Andrea, just saying. Angie, start with strong intent, with consistency, more structure. James, stop. No more unproductive meetings, less freebies, charge for time that I sometimes don't charge. Start complete dynamic health, new business alliances, and corporate marketing. I hope this is giving everybody else some ideas because often what we do is we get stuck into this space and we don't really know what it is that we need to stop or we don't know what we need to start. And if you take some time to think about it, it's amazing how your business starts becoming more focused, which is really what we want to do. So if we're looking at areas that we need to start or stop, I just want to remind you of some. If you think that the mark that you need to get your markets correct right now, you need to start asking yourself about your clients first. Who are those top clients? Who do those clients are that bring you the most amount of money for the least amount of time, for the least amount of irritation, and the most amount of love? If you could put that into 4 columns, it's the most amazing thing. You'll find that common thread between your clients. Ask yourself, are you pricing correctly for your client? Not for yourself, but for your client. And then can you do 10% more messaging? And it doesn't have to be on social media. It can be in the area where your clients sit. So if you know who your clients are, you know how to price for those clients. It's easier then to find where your marketing should be. And if you don't know, speak to Angie. Speak to Andrea. If you're looking at your operational side of things, where you need to focus, you need to start looking at what are you doing with your activities? What is creating results? What can you eliminate so that you can start saying yes to the right things and no to the things that are sapping your energies? What are your systems that you've got in place right now? And if you don't know your systems or what systems that they should be, you need to reach out to those kind of experts because we've got too many around and not all of them are effective enough. What team um, growth do you need to have, or what can you change by 10% within your team? Do you need to add one more staff member, or do you need to create this accountability culture? And then what about your cash flow? Have you looked at your expenses lately? Have you stopped subscriptions? When last have you taken a deep dive into your financial space? You should be doing that often. And from a personal point of view, your energies and your health become super important for you to be able to grow your business in the way you want to as you move forward. So, what's draining you right now? And what should you be changing? And where, on a relationship point of view, where should you create deeper loyalty? And where's there conflict that you can probably reduce just by communicating effectively? Yesterday, I had a client reach out to me. She was so excited. She's in an industry that is super detail orientated. And we've been searching for an accountant for her for a number of months now because I know when I look at her spreadsheets, there's no profit. There's a lot of columns and there's a lot of percentages going on and there's a lot of parts to her product. But I couldn't find where the percentage of profit was. And yesterday she phoned and she was super excited to tell me she's finally found somebody from the industry that truly understands what she needs to do and how she needs to do it. And my only question to her was, the woman is charging her nothing to look at her finances and her pricing. What does she want in return? And how has she covered herself going forward? Because something that is too good, there's a problem coming. So does she have an NDA in place? Does she have all of those things in places? The little things that we need to think about when we get super excited about that next bright, shiny object, make sure you are covered in every way. And that creates your 10% of thinking. You need to start analyzing these moments. So my question for you going forward today is, what next level do you need to get to without reinvention? What is the next level of intention that you're going to have to make bigger influence in your community? And if you didn't have to have an extraordinary growth in your business, what could you do that would shift your way of thinking? Big change is overrated in business, and you see it time and time again. The more a business starts changing dramatically, the more you know that there's a problem. So become more precise in your change, which will create more power. And that will bring me back to these three words of, do you know where your presence is? Are you fully engaged? Do you know where your power is? So who are you influencing? And do you know your poise of how calm you can be and how confident you can be under pressure? Remember that we don't have to be in the 95% reactive mode, but rather in the 5% thinking mode of what are we building today for tomorrow's opportunities? Where are we creating space? And where do we have the preciseness and the powerful moments? Because that will help you shift. That will help you adjust the way that you do business. Because success doesn't mean that you have to be exhausted, and growing and growth doesn't mean that you have to be directionless. In fact, these two together will create burnout. But if you are successful and you are growing, you will have clarity within inside your business. So your next level doesn't have to be a reinvention. It just has to be a shift of 10%. So, what one shift do you need to do today in order to change your needle? Questions, anybody? Get funds for Speaker Cafe. That's interesting. Yes, Mike.
Thank you, Diane. That was really, really great, and it reiterated some things that obviously were in that webinar too a few years back as well. The audience here. I'm interested in your opinion of what do you feel is the one thing that people should focus on that will be that 10% extra thing that they do?
Let me think about the community. Partners, strategic partners, I think is probably the number one thing. And I also think that a lot of people think that they know their client, but don't really know their client.
Yeah.
And when we do a deep dive into their business, their clients become scattered. But the more you are in your business, the more you take on clients, and that golden thread of your client no longer exists. So if you go back to looking at your clients again, I think if you get your clients right, everything else starts falling into place again. Because sometimes we are just fractured in so many different ways eventually that we forget who we actually serving. So clients and strategic partners.
Great answer. Just before I hand over to Karen, I think everybody wants to know why and how your necklace matches your exact D in your signature, which is above you on the left.
Because I made it so that it matches my signature.
Very clever. Very clever. Okay, over to Karen.
Thank you. Yes, Karen.
So, Di, you understand where I am, and this is where my difficulty is, right? So, in my law firm, it's all very easy, and maybe it was too easy. Um, and now with the shift to creating DDR, it just it just isn't getting going. It's like it's blocked, right? So my book is now doing more, or certainly seems to be, than all the work that we put into DDR, and I'm I'm at this point now where I'm going, well, I believe in that the universe tells us where we must go, and that perhaps the difficult, like becoming a lawyer and doing all of that, was very easy. It just flowed, right? I mean, yeah, there were lots of years of studying and all of that, but that's beside the point. Once I got going, it just flowed easily, and DDR there's been all these blocks, and but Trauma to Triumph has been easy in comparison. So, do I shift my focus to that?
That's a question. Okay, so I think that a book is part of authority building. And we hear that time and time again. And I think Mike, I don't know, said it so many times that I'm sure he's tired of saying, stand on stage creates authority, writing a book creates authority. What you're doing right now is you're creating authority. You didn't have the authority in DDR in that space because your authority was from a legal perspective, from your law practice. So I think what the book has done is allowed you to elevate yourself into a space where the authority that you build in now needs to become strategic. I think it was really, I mean, your book is awesome. For those of you that haven't read Karen's book, you can really read it in a night and practice it in a lifetime, which is so fascinating. And I think that what you do now is going to determine whether DDR is going to be a success or not. The book is going to allow DDR to be successful. Or it's how you strategically start placing where your book gets seen, who you're talking to, what rooms you are going into. So, what doors are opening for you right now, and what doors are you knocking on? Because I think what you've done is you've taken a step back from DDR because the book is a bright, shiny object. But what you should be doing is you should be stepping forward with DDR and your book at the very same time. And it's going to build that level of authority. You're suddenly going to see the struggle, 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 and then jump. That's what's going to happen if you strategize this in the right area.
Okay, thank you.
Remember what we do and what a lot of people do, and whether you're speakers or authors or celebrities or business owners or entrepreneurs or whatever title you take on right now, is we never build a PR strategy. We assume people know what we are an authority of, but having a PR strategy becomes so relevant when you build authority. You cannot have one without the other, but you've also got to know what you want from it. So you know, Corinne, that you want your impact is DDR. Your authority is your book right now. So the doors are opening for you. What you're doing with DDR, now you need to be starting to showcase to who FNB or whoever the bank was that bought 1,000 books from you. Now you should be knocking on their door and saying, like, how 2,000 books from you, sorry. Um, Make it 3.5 and then you're a bestseller. But now start talking to them about how do you build DDR together. They're a strategic partner. They clearly value what information that you have. I would be having the next level of conversation. I was having the conversation with Nadia the other day, and we were talking about her new fabulous direction that she's going to in her business. And what we don't do in business is we do these marketing meetings, we do research meetings, but we don't do sales meetings. And that's part of what you have to do next is you have to do a sales meeting, a sales pitch for DDR to those partners that believe your book is fabulous and your doors will open. That's just my thought.
Thanks, Dar. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yes, Nadia.
I actually tested it yesterday. So
And
we had the initial sales, and then when I went back, I asked different questions, and the questions were, what do your clients need? What could we put together to sell to your clients and possibly have your clients in one room? And it worked, and we got another meeting to go and present to all their people living within the retirement village. So we got it. So it is, it
amazing.
definitely, it's true. You're right.
It's the
For a
change of
change.
our word. Nice, Nadia. I remember that. Don't worry. It's the
Always
change of
on.
words that we use when we go into a marketing meeting versus when we go into a sales meeting. It's a very different way of approach. And I'm not an expert in that. Mike is. So you guys need to reach out to Mike. Sorry, Mike. Ian.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Di. This has been fabulous, and the timing is so good. This whole kind of reinvention versus refinement is such an important topic for me. One of the things that I have done is I created kind of a Rolls-Royce product at a fairly good economical price. And what I've realized is that clients are finding it too complex. They want something simpler. And so I'm realizing actually the Rolls-Royce product I thought was my baseline. It's not. There's a baseline that should be below that and should be able to do volumes and do volumes through a channel. I'm speaking to Lindsay Adams, for example, and we're looking at that as one of the processes. And I've got other facilitators and coaches that I'm training up. But this simplification of the product, I think my product was too complex for the clients to understand or to even implement.
Yeah.
And so this is so timely. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And we've realized that even at the simpler level, the product just needs a 10% upgrade in terms of system flow as well. And I think that will then make it even more marketable and easier to understand by the clients and the channel.
Nice, Ian. Absolutely. So we complicate it because we think that the clients need to know everything. And this is what one of the things that I had to learn when I stand on stage. I don't know how many times Mike has told me, simplify. Don't give all the information in one go. Rather have a keynote where it can lead on to more and more different keynotes afterwards. I always thought that you need everything, just give you everything and somebody's going to take something out of it. But I think that that's what we do is we complicate things or we make it so complex. My thoughts, and I'm not sure your product offering exactly, Ian, but I would say push the product offering, the complex product offering, higher up on your product pyramid, and then price it like way at the top of your pricing, okay? And then underneath it, start having smaller, like bite size opportunities for your clients that ultimately end up being the total Rolls-Royce product anyway, but it's just the way that you've given it to them or the way that they do the process with you. I would then break it down. And because we've got an information overload at the moment, people are really getting into the space of needing to understand the practicalities behind it. So whatever way you're building it, build it smaller with a practical example along the way. They need to see the outcome or why they need to do it rather than just give them the theory or you need to do the following in order to achieve. They want to understand the why, they want to understand how they can do it within inside their business or inside their person or whatever. But ultimately price it in a way that you're going to get your Rolls-Royce price anyway, just it's done over a longer period of time or in smaller snippets. Yeah, definitely. And you have to upgrade every now and again too. I find that with the academy that I built, I built it and thought, oh, it's going to last me a lifetime. Oh, that's funny. Things change so dramatically. So going back and having to redo the videos, redo the PowerPoint. Oh my word, what? But it's such a good process because you start realizing what a lot of nonsense you actually spoke in the beginning versus, oh, I've got so much more to add right now that either it helps you develop what you currently have or it creates another product that you can add to it. So as you start building the smaller sections, you start realizing, well, instead of 13 modules, now I've got now 27. It can last 2 years rather than 1 year. So keeping a client on for 2 years is way better than having them for 1 year, So really think about how do you upsell to them along the way? So you want them to get sucked in and then to stay in that process. We forget to upsell along the way. I think that's another big thing. Have I missed something in the chat? Fred says, actually, we have to do sales meetings with ourselves. We do. Nikki, I'm amazed at some of the top selling online products. They are so simple. There is hardly any design, very little information, literally Word docs. And this is the difference. In the different countries, America is complex in how it packages a product. And I learned this when I had I had a cosmetics product brand. Just throw it in there at one stage. And I hated the industry 100%, but I wanted to get it to export level. So I was taken to New York and put in a stand and said, sell. And when you compare South Africa products versus American products, the biggest takeaway for me was the packaging. The packaging of American products is superb. It's superior. It's premium. It's incredible what they can create. But the product itself doesn't do very much because they go down to the bare minimum of the ingredients that goes in the package. Whereas South Africa products, the ingredients is the highest level and the packaging is the lowest level. So creating online products, some people get away with that simplistic form of what's getting sold, but I would question in today's society how many they're selling is the first question. You want it to be simple, number one, but we have design tools now that are free. I love my favorite tool at the moment is Notebook LM, thanks to Mike and Landy. They told us about it at their last conference. It's superior slides that you can create for free, which is phenomenal. So packaging shouldn't become an issue anymore. It should at least look to the level of what your business represents. So if your business is casual, then that's fabulous. If your business is professional, then it needs to look professional. You can't have one product offering looking one way and another product looking the other way. Then there's no clarity within inside your business. It's going to eventually bite you on your ass. Diane, Nikki, can you give an example? Nikki, in terms of videos, if you don't show yourself live, surely then your videos don't date so quickly. It's the way you edited it. It's the way your background is. I know that during COVID, I used a tool called Prezi where the slides came into this little section where I was standing. You could then share within inside that space. But that's now null and void. So, not many people use it anymore. So it's really updating those kind of things as well, which becomes really important. So it's not only going live or that it's how your background looks, it's how you look on screen, because now we've learned you've got to have your hand above your head on your screen, etc. It's those kind of things. So it becomes important to just update along the way. And also if you're having documents that you're sharing, is your logo right? Have you updated your logo? Because you've got to go back and change those kind of things too. You can't just do it once off. Nikki, I was quite shocked. I was looking at purchasing something from Spelter. Found out my sister had bought it. It's a health exercise online program. She shared her online details for me to take a look, and I was really disappointed. Isn't it interesting? It's how we market what we're doing also. So there you get this hype going behind a product too, which creates the frenzy of everybody needs to have. And sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. What was the slide app? Oh, Angie, it's called Notebook LM. It's a free version. You don't have to spend any money on it. Yeah. So any other questions, anybody that needs to ask? We've got 3 minutes to go before we jump off. I have updated my downloadable products and resources. Yeah, I think you have to do that every now and again. You have to go back and update along the way. Otherwise, we start losing traction on our brand, because our branding also needs to stand out in everything that we do. So the moment we update our branding, we've got to go back and update everything. Sure. You're welcome. Also, the recording will be up, I think. But yeah, that's it, everybody. I hope you can go and change a 10% somewhere along the line. That affects 33% of your bottom line. I'm looking forward to your results the end of next month. Go out and be fabulous and make impact. Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks, Diane.
Cheers.